It was 5 a.m. on a chilly morning when Yourk tried to open his eyes, but quickly realized the darkness around him wasn't the problem. It was his body that failed him. The injuries he had sustained the previous day had gone untreated, and they had weakened him to the point where every movement he tried to make sent waves of pain through his body, and the loss of blood had left him lightheaded. Yourk lay there, struggling for hours. The forest around him slowly came to life, with the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves. As his eyes finally opened, just a silver, he could see the canopy above and a group of birds perched high in the trees. These birds were often hunted by local hunters. He knew that if he could somehow to his presence, there might be a chance of rescue. With a great deal of effort, Yourk reached for the arrow in his hand. He tore a stripe of cloth from his shirt and used it to clean the blood from his wound, then tied it to the end of the arrow, summoning all the strength he had left. He aimed and shot the arrow towards the tree where the birds were. His aim was true, and the birds scattered in all directions. Yourk hoped the vicinity, seeing the birds in flight, would come to investigate. He needed help, and he needed it soon. Jasta and his daughter Faith were deep in the forest of Ajuma, having hunted all night, with little to show for their efforts. The birds suddenly taking flight caught their attention. They knew this usually meant there was another hunter nearby. "We should check it out," Jasta said, taking a different route to approach the area where the birds had been. As they neared the spot, Faith pointed ahead. "Father, look!" she shouted, her voice filled with alarm. Jasta followed her gaze and saw a man lying on the forest floor, barely conscious. Jasta instinctively grabbed his daughter's hand. "We should go," he said urgently. "He looks dead." "Father, please," Faith pleaded. "We can't just leave him here. He must still be alive." Just as she spoke, Yourk's hand moved slightly. "See, he's alive!" Faith exclaimed. Reluctantly, Jasta handed his hunting tools to Faith and approached the injured man. Bending down, he lifted Yourk with considerable effort and began carrying him back to their home. Days passed, and despite their best efforts, Yourk remained unresponsive to treatment. Jasta was growing desperate and decided to consult a local physician. The physician, a wise and experienced healer, examined Yourk carefully. "Who is he?" the physician asked Jasta. "I found him in the Ajuma forest, lying under a tree, dying," Jasta replied. The physician shook his head gravely. "He will need hammer. It's a small scroll containing ancient prescript for healing. It is a rare and powerful herb, but obtaining it comes at a great cost." "What kind of cost?" Jasta asked, worried. "To get the hammer, you must either exchange a hide or embark on a dangerous mission to find it," the physician explained. Jasta returned home, heavy-hearted and uncertain of what to do next. Faith, sensing her father's distress, approached him. "What did the physician say, father?" she asked softly. Jasta sighed and explained the situation. "We need an hammer leaf to heal him, but it requires a great travel or a perilous journey." Faith said, "Wait for a moment," and then quietly went inside the house. She returned with a small box in her hand and handed it to her father. "What is this?" Jasta asked, his face filled with surprise and confusion. "My mother gave it to me before he died," Faith replied. "She told me it was very valuable and to use it only in an emergency." Jaka opened the box to find a beautiful, intricate piece of jewelry, clearly worth a fortune. He was overcome with emotion. "Are you sure about this, Faith?" Faith nodded. "Yes, father. We have to help him." Jaka quickly took the treasure to the physician, who began a treatment on Yourk immediately. The Hema leaf worked wonders, and after 3 days, Yourk started to show signs of improvement. By the end of the week, he was able to speak and move around with some effort. Jaka told him everything that had happened. He spoke of Faith's selfless act and the treasure she had given up to save his life. Yourk was deeply moved and grateful beyond words. "You have saved my life," Yourk said to Jaka and Faith. "I promise I will never forget your kindness and sacrifice." As he prepared to continue his journey to Edom, he knew that he was leaving behind not just a family who had helped him, but friends who had showed him the true meaning of compassion and sacrifice. With his strength fully restored, Yourk set out on his journey to Edom. The forest of Ajuma, which had once seemed so hostile and unforgiving, now felt like a place of refuge and hope. He knew that he owed his life to the kindness of strangers who had become friends. As he walked, he thought about Faith and her father. He wondered what their lives had been like before they found him, and how they would continue now. He promised himself that he would return one day to repay their kindness in any way he could. Yourk's journey to Edom was long, but he found strength in the memories of the people who had saved him. He thought about the randomness of fate and how a single moment could change everything. If he hadn't shot that arrow at the birds, Jaka and Faith might never have found him. It was a humbling thought, and it made him appreciate the fragile nature of life. As Yourk continued on his journey, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had been given a second chance at life, and he intended to make the most of it. He vowed to help others in need, just as Jaka and Faith had helped him. He knew that he could never repay them fully, but he hoped that by paying their kindness forward, he could honor their sacrifice. Yourk finally got to Edom. Celebration filled the air with the sound of rejoicing. He became a well-known figure in Edom, not just for his skills and bravery, but for his compassion and generosity. He often spoke of the hunters in the forest of Ajuma and the selfless act that had saved his life. Their story inspired many, and true to his words, Yourk returned to the forest of Ajuma one day, bearing gifts and a heart full of gratitude. Before his return to Edom from Ajuma, his father, king of Edom, has passed away. The time came for the Edom Crystal Festival, a grand celebration where Yourk, now revealed to be a prince, was to choose a wife to rule with him. The festival was vibrant with music, dancing, and colorful decoration. Many young ladies performed beautiful dance, hoping to win Yourk's heart. Yourk watching the dance looking unsatisfied. Despite the beauty and talent before him, Yourk felt emptiness. His heart and mind were occupied by the thought of Faith, the girl who sacrificed so much to save him. A few minutes later, news came that the northern part of Edom had been captured by the kingdom of Madina. The river connects the kingdom of Madina and kingdom of Edom. This is where the two kingdoms gained their wealth. Edom and Madina kingdoms have been enemies since ancient times. It all started during the reign of King Sanyang's father. It is said that the kingdom of Madina wanted to control the entire sea of Asia. The Asia is a river full of resources, but Madina's mismanagement prevented them from reaping the benefits. Previously, the source of Madina's wealth was agriculture and hunting. For Udom Kingdom, Asia is another way to make money, but the smelly and deadly water from Madina continued to kill the living creatures in the river.